Hello, it is Brooke from Clark Training Co. And I have with me here Piper. And we are going to be introducing her to the slip lead and with that leash pressure. Piper is a 4-year-old Shih Tzu. She is your classic small dog. She lives life how she wants on her terms. So we're just going to, we just have a little section here where we're going to just go back and forth showing her what the slip lead means and what the pressure means and how she can turn it off. Because she's a classic small dog, she might put on some theatrics, but hopefully she will understand the concept. So I'm going to just start working with her, and then I'll kind of explain what I'm doing just based off of what she's giving me. So I'm just going to start moving in one direction and see how she goes. So, Piper, good girl. Piper, good girl. Piper, good. Piper, good girl. Yes. Just adjust it there a bit. Piper, good girl. Piper, good girl. Good, Piper, good girl. Piper, good girl. Good girl. Piper, good girl. Piper, good girl. Good girl. Piper, good. Piper, good girl. Good girl, honey. Yeah. So I'm calling her name as I'm putting on the pressure, and when she starts moving towards me, I release it. So that's teaching her pressure comes on, you come towards me, pressure comes off, you're good. You're doing the right thing. Um, and we're just going to continue to do that. And you can kind of see that she thinks about putting on the brakes, but she makes the good choice of continuing on with me. So we'll just continue doing that and try to create moments of clarity for her. Piper, good girl. Good girl, Piper. Good girl. Piper, good. Piper, good girl. Piper, good girl. Good girl. Piper, good girl. Good girl. Piper, good. Piper, good girl. Good girl. Piper, good. Piper, good girl. Piper, good girl. Good job. And we reward her because she's doing a good job. Piper is usually on a flexi, as with most small dogs, and just on a flat collar. So the slip lead to her is essentially brand new. I think she's had it on maybe once or twice, but nothing like actually formally taught to her. So she's doing really great for her first time. We are in a rather low distraction environment of her backyard. She is known to go after squirrels and stuff, so there is still some level of distraction here and not like a totally controlled environment. But she's making great choices. Piper, good girl. Good girl. Piper, good girl. Piper, good girl. Good girl. Piper, good girl. Good girl. Yeah. You're doing great. Piper, good girl. Good girl. Piper, good. So pressure, release. Pressure, release. Good girl. Pressure, release. Good. Good girl. Piper, good girl. Good. Good girl. So that time I didn't use her name. I just put the pressure on and marked when she made the choice to come to me. Good girl. Good girl. Yeah. Piper. Good girl. No pressure that time, and she came right too. Yeah. And this will help show her that when I ask her something, it's not negotiable. I have the leash there to hold her accountable for me calling her name and wanting her to come to me. Piper, good girl. Piper, sit. Good girl. Good girl. So that's another thing is she hates to sit when asked. So I asked her to sit, she didn't. I put on leash pressure and I just held it there. I didn't keep yanking. I just put consistent pressure on it. And then once her butt hit the ground, I let it go. And that's another way that we can teach her what the leash means and how to turn off the pressure. So, Piper, good girl. 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 Piper, sit. Good job. Good job. She was going to go and sit on her own with that one, but I'm still going to reward it because I did ask for it and she did do it. Piper, good girl. Piper, sit. Good. No, good girl. And I'm just using touch in my voice as my form of praise. Piper, good girl. Piper, good girl. Piper, good girl. Piper, good girl. Good girl. Piper, 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 good girl. Good girl. Yeah. Piper, sit. Good girl. Good girl. No. Good. So with that, I had asked her for the sit. Then she chose to get up. And all I was doing was holding her accountable for the sit that I asked her to do. And then I just put on that consistent pressure. Once her butt hit the ground, I released it because she did what I wanted. Now, Piper, okay, good girl. And I just released her. Piper, good girl. And call her back. Yeah. Oh, sweet. Yeah. I'm sure you guys can tell why she gets away with everything. She's adorable. Piper, good girl. Piper, good. Piper, good girl. Piper, good girl. Oi. Piper, good girl. Piper, good girl. Piper, good girl. Good girl. Piper, good girl. So she's starting to understand what it is. Piper, sit. Good girl. Good girl. So I will end it here. This was a great first step for her. She's starting to understand what the leash means, how to turn that kind of pressure off. And we will continue to do these types of sessions in different places with different level of distractions. And eventually this will shape into a heel. Right now we are focusing on her mindset and getting more of a follower mindset. But eventually we can shape that into a heel. Thank you so much for joining us on this first session with our lovely assistant Piper. And we look forward to more sessions with her. And if you have any questions or anything, feel free to DM me or send me an email, and we can definitely chat about it. And we look forward to seeing you guys next time.